Welcome back to the second series of the Forecourt Tech podcast. And in this episode, we're talking about all things asset management, maintenance, and we're also talking to one of the largest independent retail operators in the UK. So I'm delighted to welcome, first of all, Hemant Tandon, who's from Park Garage Group. Hemant, welcome to the podcast. And also Brad Sandys, who's from Techniche, who are a software provider, but so much more than that. I was looking at just how many countries you're in, Brad. I think it's 34 at the moment. Maybe I'll start with you, Hemant, first, though. Can you just describe a little bit about your operation?
Yeah, thank you. So Park Garage Group is a third generation family business that started in 1979 by my grandfather. Yeah, third generation. We now operate 80 forecourts across the UK, developing food to go brands and coffee and valeting, as probably we'll talk about later. So yeah, a successful family business, I'd like to think.
So it seemed to start in London or around the edge of London, but now you've got sites across the UK, haven't you?
Yeah, humble beginnings, really. One petrol station in Canning Town is kind of how it all started. To have that, having that platform and having that opportunity is all well and good, but it's about the opportunity that you have to take. And fortunately, we had the mindset and the drive to take it with both hands. And the results today are great, but there's still a long way to go, and a fraction of our journey within what happens in the future with regards to Park Garage Group and the forecourt industry as well.
Well, we're going to talk a bit more about your journey, but I feel I should just bring Brad in briefly. So, Brad, you're from Techniche. You've known Hemant for a long time. Just tell us, first of all, a little bit about Techniche, and then also your relationship with Hemant and the Park Garage Group.
Sure, yeah. Techniche is a global software company, as you mentioned. We specialize in CMMS software, which I like to describe as asset maintenance management software for the mobility space. So forecourt operators has always been our core focus, but we've also branched out into charge point operators as well, which Park Garages is now both. So yeah, we're very specialized into making sure maintenance operations are efficient and operating well for forecourts.
For the layperson, somebody who isn't so familiar with a forecourt, what kind of assets are you actually worrying about?
Really, it's everything that's going to drive revenue for the operator. Because if your fuel pump, if your EV charger, your coffee machine, or your valeting system isn't working, all of those things are contributing to the customer experience. And if they've come to your site to use one of those facilities that is not working, or it's underperforming, or any of these sorts of things are happening, it has a negative effect on the customer, right? And you want that customer to continue to return to your site and spend money. And it's hard to get customers to come to these sites because, especially as they're transitioning to EV, as Ralph, you mentioned, you're going to be driving an EV car. People are charging at home, right? So it's really hard to keep drivers coming to your sites, and having good offers within categories like coffee, food is super important. So, and if they're not working, then that's the problem. And our solution keeps them working, minimizes maintenance costs, and ensures the operator can focus on serving the customer. That's the key thing.
Hemant, I was aware of something called Bakery 79. So you've got some new initiatives. Just tell us a little bit about that, and also where you've come from. I imagine even food retail has changed hugely in your time with the Park Garage Group.
Yeah, you're right. So in terms of looking at the history of it, I think food to go is always an area of our business, probably pre 2020-ish, where we had a few offers, basic food offers that we'd have from food service partners. I think the real driver was when we purchased sites from Euro Garages at the end of 2021. We bought on franchises such as Greggs, such as Subway, and that really gave us a big exposure into branded and franchise food to go solutions. And it wasn't until last year that we kind of thought about bringing that solution back in house. So where we operated 12 Greggs within our petrol forecourt stations, we decided to bring about Bakery 79, which is essentially an in-house bakery solution, whereby we'll be providing customers with a new menu, a refreshed menu, and kind of just look to the areas of the business whereby we saw there were gaps in the market, but also things that were traditionally that have done well and have always done well, but try to give a more refined take on it. So Bakery 79 was born, and we did a rollout plan between January 2025 and April 2025, whereby we would shut down operations on a Sunday at 4 p.m, rebrand and redo everything on a Monday, and we were back open trading for business on 6 p.m, trying to do that 12 times over in the space of about 14, 15 weeks. When you talk about it now, it seems a bit crazy, but it was the mindset that we thought that, having many more than 24 hours trading, non-trading, was obviously going to be detrimental to our business. And it kind of gave that kind of look and feel that something big was happening, and that we would rebirth something that we hope and look to have within this industry for many, many years. So we're in our infancy. I believe it's only been 4 months or 5 months since all 12 sites have become on board. We've learned a lot. We've refreshed the menu for summer, adding things like better sweet treats, even kids meals, for example. So yeah, it's an ongoing process. We are adding more to it at the same time, and we're also adding micro and mini versions to there, whereby we would be having food service partners provide us with products. Now, obviously, we're moving in with our own in-house bakery, and look, the ambition is to have it rolled out within our estate as much as it allows us to, and then hopefully in the future you can look to a franchise model and to support other people within the industry in both forecourt and convenience that are looking for a food-to-go solution that was made by retailers and bought on by retailers with 30, 40 years experience within the industry, and that's really where we're coming from at the moment.
So are the sites, I think you mentioned 12 sites, are they all fairly close together? Do you have sort of one off-site kitchen, or are you baking everything on site?
So everything is delivered and baked on site. I laugh at the fact you say, are they close together? The furthest one we have is in Scotland, in a place called Forfar, which it's quite a journey. And the one further south we have is in Bournemouth, in Wimborne, in the Dorset area. So length and breadth of the country, as is where our estate is. For us, it's really looking at the key locations within our portfolio. Look, space, facilities, different amenities have to come into play as well. But it's really, looking at the demographic, working out what space is available, and then we have the ability to tailor the menu. The core menu will always be there, but we have the ability to tailor it to what suits the site and also what suits the back of house that they have available as well. So, like I said, you don't always need to have the biggest area and the biggest spaces and have the biggest food to go concession in the world to be able to be successful. You can still do it with a smaller space, but it's about getting that menu and it's about getting that production and everything that comes with it correctly done.
I think it's fascinating as well that you're thinking of offering that to other people. So not just other fuel retailers or convenience stores to do with, the forecourt, but potentially other, I don't know, corner shops or wherever. That's really interesting. That's the first time I've heard that, I think.
Yeah, because we do see a gap in the market there at the moment. Look, not everyone has the ability to take on big brands, whether it's budgets, whether it's capability of having that expansion plans. That doesn't mean we are going to compromise our brand and everything that we've worked hard to get to this stage. But what it does mean is we understand the hardships, we understand the problems, the restraints that some convenience stores or fuel retailers face and what they are and aren't the ability to do. So where we have different propositions of Bakery 79, that will allow us to get into places where realistically either other people haven't wanted to enter or either people have been too scared to enter. And I think the key thing is that within our company, whether it's the name Park Garage or the people within it, basically from my granddad to my uncle to my dad and Manoj and I in the infancy, but mainly the people who paved the way for us to be here. I think that reputation and that credibility that we have, people trust us. They trust the family, they trust the brand, and if it's something we're bringing towards them, I think we already have that credibility, and we will never look to do anyone wrong or provide them with the wrong solution. We'll have to be honest with them. And I think, we've been there, we walk through their shoes, we understand the heartache that they have. So I think the trust and credibility is a huge thing, and hopefully that'll stand us in good stead. And like you said, what's the ambition for it? I think when we all first sat down, the ambition was to see Bakery 9 in as many forecourts and convenience stores, and why not even high streets across the UK? So you've got to dream big, and you've got to have that ambition to do it. But right now, it's about looking for the future, and it's about stabilization, it's about innovation, and it's about making sure, I've always said, the customer experience is the most important thing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Brad, I'll just bring you in for a second. What are you seeing? What are the big challenges that you're focused on with your solutions that you're trying to help people like Hemant with?
I think Hemant and I have known each other a long time, so almost 10 years now. And I think the landscape of what forecourt operators have been dealing with has changed quite dramatically. Probably in that first 5 years before COVID, it was the introduction of food service and the introduction of coffee, which really needed the operator to step up and to be able to deliver a better experience and more services to the more discerning customer coming in. And then post that, where they've had brand and other operators doing the job for you, you needed to do it yourself. And when margin pressures are there, it really makes the ownership on the operator to do that. And you need to bring in broader categories like EV, like different valeting options, your own branded bakery offer. All of these things have massively changed the landscape for forecourt operators. So all of that really needs to be underpinned by a consistent and well-structured asset and maintenance process, because if you're not doing those things in the correct order, all of your sites are going to operate and do things in different ways because they don't have that direction from the top. So having a software that's going to be embedded into your business that will understand the process that you want to control from a head office point of view, so you can be clear on who your contractors are going to be, what the SLAs are going to be, what the process will be when something breaks, how to get it fixed. You can dictate that, and then all of your people have a clear structure to follow. So you can be confident sitting in Croydon, where the Park Garage's head office is, that even their Bakery 79 site in Bournemouth or Scotland is going to be consistent because their managers have the right process to follow because of the structure of the software that they've put in place. So I think software has become even more important now because it controls so much across these categories that these entrepreneurial operators have to have. So it's really important.
And you have a product which I think the marketing name for this is brilliant, Urgent. So just tell us a bit about Urgent. What does it do, and what successes are you seeing with it?
Urgent can touch many parts of your business, but I think if you were to boil it down into the kind of core function and how Park Garages will use it, it's a catalogue of all of your sites and all of the assets at your site. And that can be everything from your fuel pumps to your coffee machines to your fridges for your chilled drinks, right? So you want to be sure that if that chiller is no longer chilling your drinks, that your site ComOps has a way of quickly getting that asset registered as a breakdown, and it goes to the right maintenance partner that will get it repaired within SLA. If it's under warranty, you know automatically it's going to go to the warranty provider. If it's not, it's going to go to one of your preferred contractors where you've got pre-negotiated maintenance call-out fees. So it just makes sure that there is a process for when something breaks, it's going to get fixed in the way that you want it to get fixed. And what we see really good operators doing is going through this change curve of, cool, they've got a process in place for when something breaks, but when they're putting more focus onto proactive maintenance. So are there the filters getting changed? Are the annual inspections happening? All of those things can make your assets last longer, perform better, and have less breakdowns, so less downtime. So that's really where the product is adding value.
I think just before we came on air, you were telling me about an example to do with Starbucks, the assets to do with Starbucks. Just tell everybody a little bit more about that story.
So I've worked in forecourts, but from different suppliers for about 10 years now. I started in coffee, and that's where Hemant and I first met each other. So when Hemant came into the business, wanted to introduce coffee, and we were able to sell him Seattle's best coffee at the time, which was a great quality coffee where you had to buy the machine, buy the branding, all that sorts of stuff. Seattle's Best was also owned by the Starbucks organization, and Hemant always wanted the Starbucks brand in the business. So we worked together over a few years to make sure the standards are operating in the right way, so that Hemant could have the brand operating, because he knew the power of what Starbucks could bring to the business. You really need a good maintenance strategy in place there, because Starbucks would not be happy if their machines were in disrepair or serving cold lattes, because it affects the brand. And it has to be delivered perfectly every time, because that's going to reflect badly on Starbucks and reflect badly on park garages. So having a really good maintenance program in place to ensure that consistency always happens is really clear. And moving into Techniche allowed me to pitch that idea to Hemant, and luckily enough for me, he took me up on the offer.
So there's a bit of a story with coffee then, Hemant.
Yeah, no, there is. So I came to the business in 2016, and got to know Brad fairly shortly after I arrived. And the one thing that I saw within the industry, I kind of saw the different brands and the way coffee was operated in forecourts within this country. And the one thing that's thought to me was that the machines, the units, everything was free on loan, which essentially says you were in a rental or a revenue agreement with whoever the provider was. But then I looked at our fuel business and thought, well, we're not doing that same model with our fuel, so why would we be doing it with our coffee? And then eventually I kind of scoped out, spoke to Brad about it, we kind of set about the deal, and then realistically, it was my task to go out and essentially find the right partner for us with regards to assets. So we looked at a few companies. Frankie was the one that we kind of spotted out. And then, we made a deal at the time whereby I believe we bought 50 coffee machines directly from them. And then we had a rollout plan whereby we put the Seattle's Best unit, the unit, and obviously attached the Frankie machines onto them. So essentially, our relationship with the wholesaler, with regards to Brad, was a wholesale agreement on beans, cups, and ancillaries. And our agreement with with someone like Frankie was basically to do with us buying the assets off them and then having a maintenance contract. Now, pitching that to other people within the business where no one else is really doing it is a bit of a wayward thing. And I think when I kind of explained the solution to my dad, he was like, I've been buying petrol pumps for 20 years. Why would I be buying coffee machines? I was like, the same reason why you bought petrol pumps. So it was, it's trying to get everyone's head around it to the reason why. But funny enough, at the same time, we made a similar move with regards to valeting. For many years, we'd already been on a revenue share model with other companies, but we had the foresight to essentially buy the assets off, again, another company, WashTech at the time. And essentially, we would take 100% of the revenue, and we would also have a maintenance contract with them. So from an asset management perspective, whether it's coffee, whether it's valeting, whether it's anything, our ethos has always been, put the capital up front, take that expenditure, and what it allows you to do is once you've kind of written off that finance and managed to keep that asset on board, it's really then to drive that revenue home in the latter years. And I think that's always been our ethos and the way we've thought about it, very much long term, very much on you own the asset sits on your book, and that's always been driven to us by people, my dad and my uncle within our company, and something that we still stand by, from today, whether it be fridges, whether it be valeting, whether it be coffee machine, whether it be the hot food unit for the bakery products to go into, it's our asset. It's been the way that we've done business, and I think that's something that we'll be continue doing from the way forward.
Well, it's interesting, that model, because I guess that puts a lot of pressure on the warranty agreements, the SLAs, who's coming out when. So I'm starting to understand why you need a product like Urgent and Techniche's services, because with 84 sites and all of these assets kind of moving around and things happening, that requires quite a lot of, would have required a lot of people keeping an eye on it. What difference does it make having something like their software doing a lot of this for you?
Yeah, previously, before, I think going back, we had just basically like someone reported on email, and then you'd call up, and then it was very much a labor-intensive method. We managed to create our in-house, which is essentially a ticketing system, which was really good at the time. But then when Brad came about and told me he was now working at a new company and gave us the Urgent platform to kind of have a look at, it just made us realize that was the next level that we need to have in order to make sure that the maintenance of all of these assets was as good as it can be. So Brad, known Brad for a long time, have faith and trust in him. So for him to bring this product on, I knew he had to have credibility. And then when I even looked at the product itself, it filled in a lot of gaps that we had. And what it made sure is that all of our assets, which we actually went around, got the model, the make numbers, the serial numbers, trying to do that across, at the time, I believe it was, 77 forecourts across the UK was a big task, but our area managers and operations team did a great job in doing that. And now that central database is locked in within Urgent. And then realistically, it's trying to get a really systematic way of going about your maintenance. So if I picked a site, say for example in Newcastle, and then I selected an area, I wouldn't have to go coffee machine. That coffee machine would already be inputted into it. It'll tell me how old the machine was, if there's a warranty on it, what make, what model it has. To have that kind of data at your fingertips is powerful. And then it's just really about using the system to its full capability. We're fortunate enough to have someone within our organization who looks after the maintenance side and does a really, really good job of it. But the key thing is the way the business model is for us is set out. So our franchisee or commission operators, depending which language you talk, they take 100% of revenue from coffee. They take 100% of the revenue in the shop. They take 100% of the revenue from valeting. So if that unit or if that machine is down for a considerable amount of time, the pressure on them is there because they want to get that unit with as little downtime as possible. So everyone has essentially got enough skin in the game to make sure that, that the uptime is as high as possible and the downtime is as absolutely low as possible. So to have that kind of ethos driven, to have a good platform in order to execute that maintenance strategy that you have, that's really where, I believe we have been really good at it. We'll continue to get better. We have to strive to get better, but the system's in place now, and it's just making sure we refine it and use it to its full capabilities.
Fantastic. Well, we touched upon EV. I think anybody in the space has been talking about EV for a while, thinking about EV and wondering how it's going to impact kind of your existing business. But I want to ask you as the expert. So the move to EV, you put your first charger in 2024. I guess you put a lot more in since then. What's your view of this EV revolution?
So you're right. We did put one in, I believe it's August 2024. So literally just a year now, almost to the date. We have a few more in the pipeline. So we're going to bring on another 2 sites, which are, large major works getting done, from actually introducing a new bakery concept to expanding the forecourt, adding valeting facilities. So that's 2 sites that are currently under project at the moment, and one looking to finish within the next 6 weeks and the other one shortly after. And there's 2 other sites which have existing facilities already there. So realistically, it's just adding the EV facility in there. So the expansion plan's there. I wouldn't say it's excessive. I think doing the first one has really allowed us to understand the market, understand realistically in terms of how do you maintain it well, how do you market it correctly, what's the price point. All that is after the EV charger has been installed. But I think a lot of the learnings is pre the EV chargers installed. That's, for me, sometimes is the hardest part, and the obstacles and the hurdles that have to be overcome to be able to get that proposition in place. So, where maybe we thought we needed 3-4 EV chargers, maybe that's not really the case as much. I think realistically, we put ourselves in a position whereby we've gone for 480 kilowatt chargers, which are some of the fastest, if not the fastest on the market at the moment. So longevity gives us that scan point, whereas we may put lower charges in within 3, 4, 5 years, they may be displaced within the market and we'd have to get newer or faster technology one. So I feel we stand ourselves in good stead there. It's just learning now. Like I said, the first one was in Blackpool. The second one's going to be in Lower Kingsdown on the A217 in London, off the M25. And the next one's going to be in Maidstone in Kent. And then we've got Durham and Northamptonshire. So in terms of, you can take learnings from, in terms of, how it functions and how it works. But every site's going to be different, and all the customers are going to be different in terms of the reason why they're going to the site. So always going to be a learning curve, and it's just about adapting to the market from where you think it's going to go and where you think it'll take you.
I mean, as a recent EV purchaser, so probably I've been driving an EV for about 3 or 4 months. Certainly the power available is important. I mean, if it's less than 150 kilowatt, then I'm not really interested because I'm going to be there for too long. I wondered as well if you're thinking about, so my behavior at the forecourt is a bit different. I'm stuck there for a bit longer. I probably want to get out and stretch my legs, which is great for that retail offering. I'm thinking about the one nearest me, which is not one of yours. I'll tell you, it's EG Group, so it's their property, and they don't do a brilliant job at giving me things to do. So there is a Greggs, there is like a Subway, there's no seating. And I think probably the other factor as well is something around loyalty. So the number of loyalty schemes, for example, I am to drive a Ford EV, but the amount of different loyalty schemes, sign up to this power scheme. Ford's got one, Blue Oval, I think it's called. I don't really understand. I mean, clearly they're trying to get me to just buy electricity from the chargers they support, and they're getting a cut of it. But I don't really understand why I do it, because it doesn't seem to save me anything. So are you thinking about some of the marketing kind of customer loyalty side as well as just the biggest power?
It's interesting actually to hear from someone on the other side. I don't drive an EV car, so we're kind of doing everything from what we believe the customers want and listening to it. So it's really interesting to someone who's had it for 3 months and what their views are on it. So to give you a kind of spin on what we're thinking about and what we've launched and what we're looking to launch. So, and this is the power of having everything in-house. So the our EV brand, if you want to call it, is called Park and Charge. It's a label of Park and Shop as well. So what we have developed is a in-house loyalty app, which is called Park and Charge. And the idea of that is to link in with the Bakery 79 app. So because it's all in-house, we're able to, cross those offers over. So for example, if you're a new customer like yourself and you walked into one of our forecourts and the app was available, if you're a first-time customer, we would say, go to the bakery concession and have a coffee on us, or have a sausage roll for 50% off, or whatever it was. And the more data we'd be able to capture from you, the more we'd be able to offer. So if you come in at 3 o'clock every Friday for a charge for 30, 40 minutes, we may think you keep buying the same thing. You keep buying a regular latte and you keep buying a lemon donut. So we're going to offer you probably similar lattes because that's probably your drink of choice. And we maybe offer you different kind of donuts because we know that that's kind of where your palate is taking to on a Friday afternoon. So it's about, you're right, it's having too many loyalty apps and having too many offers kind of confuses the customers. Essentially, you want to go in there and essentially be told, no, I know what I want to buy and I want to be told what I want to do and where to go. So it's really just simplifying it, keep the offer as simple as possible. If it's a coffee that you're after, or if it's even money off or discount off the spend you have on the EV charger, you can offer that at the same time. So I think you can't be too specific because then it complicates the matter completely from a back end perspective, but you can simplify it and still give the customer that they want. I think that's really the key element. Look, are we there yet right now? No, but what we're doing is putting the works and plans in place to make sure that when we do roll out further bakeries, which usually will have an EV charging facilities, especially on the newer ones, we can offer that one at the same time. And just to go back to something that you said as well, I think you said you went to the forecourt and that there was no seating available. That's not sometimes completely unheard of because people may have a great site and a great opportunity where EV is, really needed in that area, but they may not have the seat or the seating space or the space availability to offer you that. So kind of what we've thought on that instant and where we're building it on our newer EV chargers on the forecourts that we're developing at the moment. So we'll have a tablet screen there. So essentially what you could do is you could plug in your EV charger and let that run. You could order your order from the bakery 79, whether it's a coffee or sandwich, meal deal, whatever it is. You could order it from that tablet. You could sit back in your car, you can stretch your legs, have a walk around, and then you can sit back in your car and you could consume whatever you've bought from there at the same time. So yeah, look, you've just got to adapt to the facilities that you've got at the same time. And I think we're trying to cover off as many angles as possible to make sure that every consumer kind of gets what they're really looking for.
I love it. I love the idea of a free coffee. I think we all do. I mean, yeah, when you're sat there as well, I'd say something as simple as a QR code on one of your digital signage screens. I can do it from my own mobile. You're sat there with Techniche EV written on your chest, Brad. So I've got a feeling you might have some insights into this move to EV. What are you seeing? What's the impact for people like Park Garage Group, and what are you seeing other operators do?
EV is essentially just another category for these mobility operators, but it comes with a significant amount of potential issues that are going to cause downtime, going to cause customer experience problems for operators. So we're trying to make it as simple for forecourt operators as possible to operate a good and reliable network. And the way we can do that is by connecting into the charger backend so that we can automate many of the manual tasks that a CPO would need to keep those chargers online and operational. We're about making operations of EV as simple as possible so that as you're scaling your network, utilization and wear and tear is going to increase. You're not increasing the amount of tasks your operations team are having to take care of. And we're just automating as many of those steps as possible.
Hemant, if I come to you first, I just want a sort of sense of the future. What are you excited about for the next 2 or 3 years?
I think for us, it's continuing to develop and continue to get better. A large focus of that is, as we talked about extensively on this podcast, is around Bakery 79 and what the future holds for that, and how we can expand within our own network and maybe look at starting to see how it works in other people's companies and stores, that where we think and they think is ready for availability. But I think the big thing now is really just continue. I think the big thing within companies is to make sure that what you've got at the moment and what you're holding on to is to make sure you're looking after that as much as possible. My dad always tells me that if something was broken in your house, wouldn't you fix it? It's the same thing within your business. So to maintain the maintenance within our companies is such a big thing. We hold it so strong. So making sure our assets are working, are as clean or as tidy as possible. I go back to that customer experience has to be paramount. So it's really building on what we have at the moment and looking to the future around EV, around the bakery solution, and more sites to come. Who knows, maybe, but I guess the key thing is making sure that we enjoy what we do every single day.
Fantastic. Brad, what are your thoughts for the future?
People buy from people, and I think as we get more and more into this digital world, you're going to come back to trust, right? And I really like the forecourt industry for that, because there's lots of cool, fun ways that the people in the industry get together. They've been part of it for a long time. There's a lot of trust and connection there. So I think trust these people. We're all trying to pull together in the same direction.
Well, thank you both very much for coming on the podcast. If you are a fan of Forecourt Tech, you'll probably know that the conference is happening 1st and 2nd of October. You'll find out more information on our website, which is forecourttech.com. But it's in the beautiful setting of Alicante in Spain, so a great place to go in October. And just as you mentioned, Brad, people do buy from people, and there's a lot of key people from the forecourt industry at that event. So please come along. If you aren't going to the event, or in fact, if you are, you should definitely subscribe to this podcast. And just to let you know, we put the video version of this podcast on Spotify and also on YouTube, but you can listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform. But all that remains is me to thank our guests. Thank you very much for your insights and your time. And I wish you all the best with your future plans.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ralph. Cheers, Hemant.